Welcome to Journey to Safety, the podcast where we explore the challenges and opportunities in creating safer, more inclusive public transport for everyone. Today, we'll focus on the lived experience of disability hate crime on transport and how we can all contribute to safer journeys. Our guest Joey from Coventry Youth Activists is someone with personal experience of this issue. Thanks so much, Joey, for joining us.
Thank you.
Can you share your experience with hate crime on public transport and how it unfolded?
So I did not realise at the time until actually listening to one of the other podcasts that what I experienced was disability hate crime. And I think that's probably a very common issue. So I was using the bus to get to and from school, and it could either be a group of people, but there was also an individual that particularly targeted that would shout things at me when I got on the bus, laugh, say some really inappropriate slurs, and also there was physical things, so throwing things like bottles, and also weirdly change. I don't know why people would want to throw their money away, and yeah, that one was odd. They had this habit of, sounds so random now, but folding like paper aeroplanes into a point and just, poking me on the shoulder with it. And I don't really understand, thinking back, how strange that is. At the time, I don't know, I was just dealing with it. But thinking back, it's some very strange things happening.
Was there any support available to you in that moment? And how did it shape your response to the incident? Because I know you said you didn't really know it was a disability hate crime at the time.
Yes. So yeah, the bus I used to get on, it was I think it was like the 8:02. So it was early in the morning. And there wasn't I didn't have anyone that knew me that would have been able to do anything, but I also didn't know that what was happening to me was as wrong as I now understand it is.
Mm-hmm.
I just, there wasn't really anything. And I was doing the whole, what they tell you to do, ignoring it. So they got bored, but it went on for years. So obviously they didn't get bored, but coming home was worse, because I used to intentionally, so I actually used to get to school 40 minutes early. I used to leave my house at 7:32, and I used to run to the bus stop to get that early. But I couldn't do that on the way back. So on the way back, not only did I have the people that I didn't know, but I had the people that knew me from my own school as well. There was a few occasions where actually 2 people got off and followed me to intimidate me. That happened a couple of times. And then that same person did follow me home once and throw some like big, kind of like a stone or something on the street. And I that's the only thing that I did tell someone about, because I knew that was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But the other stuff, I did not know that what I was experiencing could be justified as a hate crime, so to speak.
So with this experience that you've had to go through, has it changed the way you feel about public transport? How did you cope with you having to use public transport, or did you just think, I'm not going to use the public transport?
This is really interesting point, because back when I was at school, I developed a physical disability that I didn't know was going to happen to me. So I used to get the bus independently. Up until I was 16, I would go at the weekend and meet a friend and go to town. But after the age of 16 and things changing, even though I know that I could have got the bus alone with a friend, I avoided it, because I'd got used to the situation and I expected it in a way. For a long time, I did always carry this dread, really. It's even now if I'm in town, and or if sometimes, I'll go get a haircut and I could get the bus home, but I think, do you know what? It's the school times. There's going to be all the school kids, and you do think about what are these people gonna say.
Do you think enough is being done to raise awareness about the challenges faced by disabled passengers on public transport?
I don't think so. So we have the space on the bus that is allocated for a wheelchair user. One of the bus companies, on their signage that marks out that it's reserved for a wheelchair user, theirs say that it's a requirement by law for that space to be empty for a wheelchair user, whereas on our more widespread transport company that we use, it used to even be really loose about it being like you should make that space free to someone, if possible. And I have had a situation where it was a real nightmare because I had to let two buses go. So, and the weather was really, really bad. And in the end, we resorted to getting a taxi because we'd been waiting so long, because the first person, they did not want to move their pushchair. With the stuff that happened to me back at school when I didn't have that physical disability, we only managed to stop because after quite a few years, a bystander said something.
Wow, thank goodness for bystanders that actually do say something, Joey. Do you feel that transport staff are equipped to respond to incidents of hate crime effectively?
I don't think so, and I think that there is probably more than one reason. So I think, firstly, I think that because of the way society is, I think that they have a genuine fear that something could happen to them. And then I think, secondly, that with the drivers, I don't know what kind of training they have in terms of, in terms of, I suppose, looking after vulnerable people on their buses and what to look out for. It's a real challenge that doesn't have an easy solution. But I think training should really be implemented in some way. Because even if people don't act upon it, I always say, if you've been training it, it's still subconsciously in your head somewhere, even if you choose not to use it. That's my opinion.
Definitely. So what role can fellow passengers play in creating a safer, more inclusive atmosphere during travel? Do you think passengers could do more?
I always think that we should start with the younger people and the kids at school, because if you teach them young, it's great. It's a great preventative measure. It's much easier than curing what's already started. When I had the particular repetitive issues from the same person and group of people on the way to school on those early mornings, it was a member of the public that spoke up, and made that person actually stop and think about what he was doing, because it put him off. I could have never predicted to be in this position. Never. And my mum, she often says the same thing. When I remember the first time I got off the train from Birmingham, and I had a specialist walker, and the first time I was using it, and there was someone behind us, and would have been in their 40s, and they were complaining that because they were behind me, they were not moving as quickly. And I do remember that my mum turned and said, 5 years ago, he was running around faster than most of us here. You don't know what's going to happen to you. You need to stop and think.
What practical steps could be taken to address this issue? As you said, staff training, that's going to be a big one. Have you got any more?
Yeah, definitely speaking in schools. Because I always think you can be so creative with that as well. And I think that that's really great, because it sticks with them. I'm a bit strange in that I enjoy reading signage that's up and about on the bus. I enjoy reading about what you do if there's a problem. I was thinking maybe, you know, if we had some kind of signage, you know, just saying about what signs that they might see. So like if you're seeing this happen, you know, it's wrong or whatever. And I do feel really sorry for the members of the public that want to do something, but they're scared, because I know exactly how they
know that in a lot of areas that some do, like for Transport for London, and when you go on the tubes, you see, and on trains, you can text the number to
Yes.
help you. But as I was saying to my colleagues, when I first started doing this research, I didn't know it included hate crime. What would you say is the most impactful step passengers and transport operators can take today to create a safer space for everyone?
Small things that are the biggest. And I think for me, it was a lady a lady that was always on that same bus, that was an older lady that came forward and said one morning to me, she said, "Are you okay?" And I didn't feel able to say anything. And she said, "He's never done anything wrong to you. Why are you doing this to him?" She's like, "Tell me, why are you doing this to him? He never once has responded." And he wouldn't say anything. And she said, she was saying, like, she said, "You can't give me the reason why you're doing it. So why are you doing it?" And he just went to the back of the bus and sat down. And that particular person, he didn't bother me again after those 3 years.
Joey, that's all it took. Yeah.
Even if I wasn't able to respond back,
Yeah.
it did bring me some comfort, because it made me think that I'm not invisible. Somebody is seeing that this is happening.
And you're not alone.
Yes.
You are not alone. Too right. I would like to talk a little bit about your Coventry Youth Activists and what you do. So tell us about your amazing group of people and what you do at Coventry Youth Activists, please.
Oh, well, I think that a really big point is we have a lot of fun challenging very difficult topics. And we do things in a really, really unique way. So we tackle quite difficult and very serious issues,
Yeah.
in a very creative way. So one of our long running campaigns has been all about hate speech on social media towards the disabled community. And again, just as it's not being recognised on public transport, it's not being recognised online very well either.
No.
And we took it to the top. We decided that the only way to actually do something was to contact the platforms themselves. And the platform that we were having the most problems with was Facebook. And so we decided to challenge Facebook. And we did initially have an online meeting with them, and we were really hopeful, and then they disappeared. We spent 2 years finding as many different ways as trying to get through. We use storytelling a lot, in our work to help people understand and get on board. I really like using that storytelling approach, because I can't expect anyone to understand something unless I've lived through it. I'm not going to expect anyone to understand it. So I don't get any anger now from being asked questions or answering questions, because we're all learning. But yeah, over 2 years, we emailed the contact that we had. We tried phoning. We did social media call outs. We were tweeting them almost daily at one point, and we could not get through to them. We came up with the idea that if they're not going to come to us, we would go to them. I know that they've got UK headquarters office in London, and we managed to get people together, 100 in total.
Wow.
We got outside of their offices, and in the spirit of joy, we decided to set up a tea party outside and shout things like, "You're late for a very important date." And we had Mad Hatter's tea party, and
Wonderful.
yes, we had a story told outside of there. And it did have an impact because we did see people coming up to the windows, and for those 3 hours, no one left that building. So there definitely something happened to reroute people out of that building.
You did well.
We did get that meeting. We did get our second meeting.
Brilliant.
We got it in person, and we got some great support from a local MP as well, who was able to write a letter. And since then we've struggled again, but we won a national award for that campaign.
Absolutely brilliant. I do love you guys. You are amazing. The stories and ideas shared today remind us that everyone has a role to play in fostering safe journeys, whether it's through awareness, action, or allyship. Public transport should be a space for everyone. Please be sure to tune in next time to Journey to Safety as we continue these essential discussions.